I'm sorry I left early again. I really hope I didn't get anybody sick being there today. I hope I am well enough to be here tomorrow, or today as it is. I'm doing this while I'm awake, so hopefully this will go well. Thank you to Anderson Fernandez for giving me a new idea about how to shoot these, so hopefully this will be more helpful. Let's get started talking about today. Yesterday we talked about domains and kingdoms. Today we are going to talk about how evolution really influenced the way scientists started using taxonomy to do this. So, a good example of this is the platypus. Platypi are very weird animals. They have duckbills, they lay eggs, and they're mammals. So scientists really struggled with how this could have evolved. The native Australian people, from where the platypus is native to, always believed that platypi were born when a water rat mated with a duck. Well, we know this doesn't happen, but scientists had to figure out what actually did happen. Scientists initially put the platypus in a new group of egg-laying mammals, but then, many years later, scientists began to argue, tried to figure out what the platypus really evolved from. Had they evolved from marsupials like kangaroos? Would they have to move the classification? Well, scientists studied its DNA to look at its similarities with other creatures and finally put it in the right place. So, evolution and classification became related when, in 1850, Charles Darwin, remember, guy with the beard, published a theory about how species could change over time. Darwin's theory is often referred to as the theory of evolution. Evolution is a gradual change in a species over time. Darwin believed that evolution took place through natural selection, in which individual organisms which are better suited to live in their environment are more likely to survive, more likely to pass their genes on to the next generation. And as that continual passage of genes happens, the genes diverge and you get new species. The theory of evolution has changed how biologists classify organisms. Scientists understand certain organisms may be similar because they had a common ancestor. This is the more similar two groups are, the more recent their common ancestor. Today's system of classification takes into account the history of a species. Species with similar evolutionary histories will be closer together, so they're more related to each other. If you look, well, let's go. The probable evolutionary relationships among organisms and the order in which specific characteristics, physical characteristics, have evolved is generally illustrated with a branching tree diagram. If you look at the little picture on your right, I think, the picture. The base, the very bottom, and normally it's the lowest, has the most recent common ancestor. From there, you start to have predictions about when certain animals branched off. So you look at the traits, 4 limbs, that happened, and then amphibians branched off. And then they had an egg, and reptiles branched off and evolved into their own thing. And then they grow fur, and marsupials branched off of that. Then that common ancestor developed specialized shearing teeth, and dogs branched off of that. So if you look at that, that means that amphibians didn't stay on this particular branch long enough to get these specialized shearing teeth. Or dogs didn't stay on this particular evolutionary branch long enough to get the retractable claws that cats have, right? So we see how the evolution diverges and you get from one creature to. All right, things change as they grow, and it kind of looks like a tree. Organisms are grouped together according to their shared derived characteristics, which are normally homologous structures. Lots of words, right? So they're the things that are similar between different species are their shared derived characteristics. Homologous structures are structures that are the same, at least in form, across different animals. So the same way that monkeys and you have arms and hands that function that way, that is a similar homologous structure. But that also includes things like the wings of a bat, because we're both mammals, and I think whales' flippers have very similar bone structure. Those are homologous structures. So that all hints that they have the same evolutionary origin. We all got these structures, at least started with these structures, from the same animal. In addition to comparing these structures, scientists also use chemical makeup of cells to help figure out how closely related two things are. So when we're classifying, we use shared derived characteristics and the chemical makeup of cells to figure out where things belong. Sometimes, though, you get different, like I told you, human hands and whale flippers have very similar bones, but human hands and, monkey hands have similar bones because they came from the same place. They do the same things. Well, other times you have unrelated organisms that have similar characteristics or body structures because they evolved into different environments. For instance, a bird's wing and a bee's wing. They are both wings, but structurally they are different, and they did not come from a similar ancestor. This is called convergent evolution, when things develop similar traits through different evolutionary paths. This happens a lot. When studying chemical makeups of these organisms, that a lot of times will be the thing that shows you that they are not closely related, because their DNA will be very different. So that is it. Let's see how this turned out. Let me stop.